Like,
I know
why
what
do
you
it now?
mean.
Yeah,
I know
so
what you mean.
it's going.
My big pet peeve is when a podcast will begin with what seems like the middle of three people making an inside joke that is the funniest thing in the world. And so they'll make a comment and then like three people will laugh and then somebody else will make a comment and like more. And it's like, you don't hear that kind of laughter in real life. I was like, this is so contrived. It's like,
Yeah,
but yeah. So I think
that thing
most
you
of
were
the
saying
people,
about like rubbing vapos, that fucking had me on the floor, dude. Like, god damn it. God, fuck.
well,
Seriously,
yeah. So,
the vapor rub in the foreskin thing, god, fuck, man. Okay,
well, yeah. Anyway, so,
sorry.
um, so yeah. So that's for all of 2016. I was studying government, and I like was this close to just go like I had my Google alerts were all engineered towards getting my poli-sci degree, getting into law school, and then going to work for a nonprofit, and basically just pissing my life away trying to do something about my anxiety
Yeah,
through a profession. Um, and I was like, dude, I mean, I think I have the, I think I could do law school if I really wanted to. It's just, time's up.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I want to, I've already, I don't want to spend the next 20 years as more miserable than I am now. And like, that would be, I'm pretty much like setting it as my future. If you want to, I mean, there are things I can do as a citizen that are, that go above and beyond without dedicating my life to, or just sacrificing myself for a cause that I know will not improve because of the country I live in.
Big
I know
time. Yeah,
that's really defeatist, but like I think everyone has a role to play, and I would rather play a more background supporting role. Man, I don't know. Like I used to want to be the center of whatever it was I was doing, but now it's like I don't know. I kind of like being part of something.
yeah, absolutely. And like the more I've done in terms of like the official nonprofity kind of bullshit, it and see, especially down here. I mean, I don't know about over there or whatever, but in
In Los
Alabama,
Angeles.
yeah, I was about to say over there you can probably affect a little bit of change, but like over here when you talk to lawmakers, they're like that, they just glaze over when you try to talk to them about anything.
Yeah.
So any kind of lobbying that you could do in an official capacity would be just fruitless in most places. So
Yeah, it's really I mean Mississippi is one of the most frustrating stories in America, man, because like it just I mean, you guys are just being held hostage.
yeah, big
As
time.
like as a bystander, as someone who vacationed in Biloxi, for like
Yeah.
I have a special place in my heart for Mississippi, and I think that like I don't know, man, it's just like this one particular part of history got its fangs in and has never let go. And if you read about the history of the South and like agitating in the South, I mean, like they just cut the balls off of any kind of progressive politics a long time ago when they made unionizing illegal.
Yeah, big time.
Basically, like that's a really that cuts so much stuff off at the pass, um, and it's hard to get anywhere from there. And so like you need to win every state house and win the Senate and win the governorship and change the Constitution in a lot of these places because
Yeah.
I mean in Georgia it's in the Constitution that you have to like if you're gonna spend new money you have to like balance the budget and you have to do it in this really austere way. Right. And it's not a responsibility move. It's a kind of just like keeping a place static in time.
Yeah.
Because part of it is they want to keep time from progressing. Of course, they don't want anything to be different, but also it's a lot easier to manipulate the place if time is not progressing.
Right.
It's just so like you can do whatever you want. So like forget your ideology. If you want to enrich yourself via government, and that's the kind of place you want is, your opposition who wants to create new laws. You're like, well, what are you even doing here? Like you're not going to win. Things don't change around here, and so that's why I don't know. That's why like. I'm rooting for you guys. I live in LA because it's easy. I think I could do. I mean, affecting change here it's like we can make little changes here, but for the most part, life is good in LA. I mean, it's smoggy and congested, and there's a lot of homelessness, and it's very, very sad. But juxtaposed to a lot of other places in America, it's pretty nice here.
Awesome. Yeah, and you were in New Orleans up until how long? Like
2000 until Katrina.
Katrina. Oh, damn! So you've been in LA for a long fucking time.
No. So I took a circuitous route to LA. I just got here a couple years ago.
Okay.
So, but just to really quickly finish my thought about it, politics in LA is a little bit easier because I say that because it's not easy if you're conservative. It's not. The reverse.
Yeah.
If you're conservative, it's a very frustrating place. And there's a little bit of schadenfreude there. Like I like living in a place where my point of view is echoed. Like echo chambers are nice. Yeah. All right. Like, if you don't want to live in an echo chamber, I get it, but you feel a lot less crazy. So it's good for mental health. But so Katrina hit, and I was living uptown at the time, near the colleges in New Orleans. Right. I grew up in Metairie.
Yeah.
But I moved to New Orleans and I was like 19. And so 2005, I moved to Austin. I stayed there for 7 years. And then I moved to New York ill-advisedly in 2012. Okay. It was a thing I had to do as a performer and a writer and someone who, but you get there and it's like, oh wait, New York's a real place that I have to live day to day and I have to get a job, and then the mystique and the romance goes away really quickly. It is a hard place to live. And it is also a very liberal place. It's even more liberal now that the Democrats run the state house, and so and everything's decriminalized, which is nice. But yeah, I live in LA now. My partner goes to UCLA grad school, and I'm online, so I took classes online.
Smart. That's really smart. I wish I had figured out how to do online. I had to do like a regular, whatever.
I missed that experience, man. It's very strange. So like, if you don't know, a good online school, like I go to SNHU, and they've been doing the online thing for a lot longer than anybody else, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, they advertise like a for-profit school, which I think is shrewd, even though it kind of makes me feel creeped out. Yeah. They advertise insane. Like my mom knows what SNHU is, and she's 82 years old and lives in Covington, Louisiana. Yeah. She knows about them because their commercials are all over TV, like DeVry. You know what I mean? Like, right. So like people think it's for profit, but it's not.
I want to say a buddy of mine went there for animation.
Yeah, they have a good curriculum and like good teachers.
I've heard they're really good.
The problem is the participation. Like you miss the classroom because the participation is really stilted, and it's like you have to basically make an academic version of a Facebook post. You have to source everything, and you have to keep it in a certain tone, and then you have to make one of those a week for each class, and then you make 2 replies to that as like the rest of your grade, and that's like supposed to replace the classroom, and it doesn't. Right. No. It's really no one follows the rubric. It's a fucking mess, and I saw people source like. It's really strange. I think I have a glass of water here. There's people in my class who will cite their work, and source it, and their source is the fucking Gateway pundit. You know what I mean? Like they're appropriating like how to actually create content as if you were an academic, but it's just fabulism. It's just lies.
Like, and it becomes that like wheel of nonsense, you know, where it's feeding, like somebody feeds an entertainment source and then that becomes news that then is academically sourced, and then that becomes the next generation of people doing it.
And conservatives are really good at that too. That's another thing. I mean, if you go back to before Roy Moore ever ran for Senate, there's an article I could send you that documents his history of conservatives are really smart because they have no scruples. They have no morals. They're just like, this is how we want the world to be. It's how it should be based on our interpretation of the Bible. So there's no thought. No. There's no like peer review. It's just like, this is. Yeah. And so Roy Moore is one of those guys, and he started this thing where conservative lawyers, they would go to college. Law students would go to college with the conceit being that they're going to be a conservative judge and they're going to write decisions with dissent or in agreement. Like they'll just input decisions into the record that are complete bullshit but are pro-life. Yeah. And so they'll decide cases or they'll dissent against cases and say, but they'll create basis for that. They'll create precedent for themselves. So like years later, they'll be like, as I said in this other dissent.
Yeah. This guy in 1984 said this. So now
that was me.
Yeah. Oh, wait. It was a guy that was in class with me.
I've been busy.
Yeah. Man.
So they create their own. Yeah, they create their own precedent, and then with all the idea making it obviously to the Supreme Court, where they're like, well, but the Supreme Court doesn't even need precedent. Like,
right? They can change shit.
We shouldn't. The Second Amendment. That's how the Second Amendment changes. Like, what was the latest one? Was the Chicago one during the W tenure?
Yeah.
The one that basically cemented the Second Amendment as like it's a right to have a gun. I forget the law, but like, they ignored precedent in that case. And we're like, you know what, we're going to go ahead. And so it's like, you really can't stop them from doing whatever they want.
Right. But still, like, you get cities like at least in New York City, you can't be like running around with a fucking gun.
No.
Insane criminal prosecution, but they never mention that in terms of like an area with, with Alabama, especially Roy Moore, their big whole thing was like states' rights and all that, right? Like it's a civil libertarian idea, and to do that, you do states' rights, and then you do city rights, and then you do HOA rights, and then you do boss rights and landlord rights, right? It always all the way down. It has to be this like nice little.
That's the academic take.
Yeah, it's a nice little funnel. Yeah, of course. That's how you say it, because that's how they say it. So that's
the lawyers they hire to make this shit sound legit. That's
But
I mean, that's the
on the face of it, they would then agree that like New York City should be allowed to be a gun-free area and all that shit. But then they constantly talk about Chicago like it's somehow special and bad because of guns not there. But then it's like, well, the gun crime is the problem. It's like there's a huge disconnect where they're like, wait, do you think law-abiding citizens aren't also carrying guns? Like, do you think the guns, like, clearly the gun control doesn't work? I mean, because I'm not a big gun control guy. Like, I think trans women and homeless people and everybody should just be given a gun. It's the Second Amendment. It says the right. That means the government has to pay you for it. Give me a gun, right?
Yeah.
It's a human right. That means it doesn't cost money. That's what guns mean to me, right? So, like, I believe every man, woman, and child, baby, I'm talking about my dogs. I want my dogs to have guns. Like, I want everybody having guns, right? Or we get nuanced about it and say some cities can decide to not have guns and all that, right? But if we're going to have guns, then we're also not going to have a for-profit military, right? We're going to have the Third Amendment also. And then we all get guns for free at the point of service. when I go to the gun store, it should be like when I go
Are
to
we
the
gonna
hospital.
have a universal healthcare system? Because it's gonna be a lot of people getting hurt.
That's also where I'm going with it. It's a right to hold and bear arms, so free at the point of service. I want guns and I want stitches when I shoot my foot.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Right. Yeah.
And no military. There's no military. We don't have a uniformed military.
That's
the Third Amendment, right? Is the no? It's not to get Obama like the
no quarter. What is that? No.
The troops aren't allowed to sleep on my couch.
Yeah, no quarter.
Yeah. They're
Yeah,
not allowed to come knock, knock, knock and sleep on my couch, right? And then the fourth one is they're not allowed to search if they do.
Yeah, that's habeas corpus.
Yeah. And then fifth is I don't have to talk about it if they find stuff. I don't know.
Constitution. See, this is shit I all studied a couple of years ago. And I was like, it's like the Ten Commandments, man. It's like, it's just an icon that you reference to bolster your argument. But if you get into the weeds of the Constitution, it's not really kind to corruption and or slavery. I mean, like, it was originally written without mentioning slavery, but like, I mean, the 14th Amendment, 13th and 14th Amendment,
right,
make it pretty. And so, like, these things that this country does, the Constitution would frown upon it if it were a real living thing. But like, I just think the Constitution is a device. It's like the Bible. It's like a secular Bible. And then if you look at like a lot of survivalists communities, they actually will have shrines in their house where Jesus and the founding fathers like share. Yeah, man, like they're in the same. It's like a sect of kind of like Christian patriotic thought, and it's pretty prominent amongst.
It'd be like Church of God or whatever, or like
I'm not sure the specific denomination.
Presbyterian type thing where they do like speaking in tongues and shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was made out in like that was made in Northern California in the early 1900s. It was one of the first tongue-speaking religions. Did you know that?
Yeah. It's a lot of they started as really tiny communities, and they became very politically active in the 70s. My parents were part of that.
Really?
Part of that community of you ever heard of charismatic Catholicism?
I'm familiar with charismatics through I've heard of charismatic Episcopalians. But charismatic Catholics, what are they? I mean,
charismatic Catholics.
Those.
So after Vatican II, this is the funny thing is like
electric.
Electric Boogaloo, exactly. Right. The funny thing is like I grew up in a household where they never talked about national politics. Like in Metro, Louisiana, it was very high. It was about, I mean, there's 13 plus Catholic churches in Metairie alone.
Wow.
It's a very Catholic town. And it was built kind of.
Metairie is like population 90 to 120K, something like that.
Something like that.
Small as fuck, yeah.
And it's like 90% white, used to be more.
Yeah.
Post-Katrina kind of.
Really close to New Orleans.
Great on.
Like when I was in New
12 miles.
Yeah, it's really fucking close, just for people that don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. So Metairie is a suburb of New Orleans. It was built as a white flight suburb in the after desegregation, things got a little hot, and a lot of people didn't want to integrate, so they moved to Metairie. Metairie is run by a board of like a parish council. Yeah. So there's no mayor. It's an unincorporated territory. So it's not a city. It's not there's no mayor. It's run by a board of white Catholics. It always has been, and I don't think that'll ever change. Maybe there's been a person of color once or twice. I haven't been keeping too much track, but
yeah.
So elections aren't ever really heated. There's not a whole lot of diverse range of ideas.
Right.
And there's a lot of, I mean, maybe not politically, but like growing up in that community, there was a lot of hostility towards New Orleans. A lot of, they love the Saints. They'll root for the Saints all day, and they love the food. But like physically going there, They did not like doing that. I didn't know New Orleans. I mean, I was 15 before I ever went there.
What?
Like, yeah, went to the city. My parents wouldn't take me, and I wasn't allowed to go alone. Like
wild.
so my older brother, took me to the French Quarter, and it was like fucking paradise. It was like it was the coolest place in the world. I still think it's the coolest place in the world, and so and so there's this whole mindset of like. So what I was getting at was in my house, in the 80s, like nobody really talked about Carter or Nixon or oil or the Iranians or anything. They talked about Vatican II. My dad was still mad about Vatican II because Vatican II changed all the old ass draconian rules the Catholic Church used to have, like Latin Mass.
Yeah.
Like the priest not facing the congregation, like there being a bar across in between the congregation and the priest. My dad was mad because he could speak Latin. He knew the Latin Mass, and he was like, and also he just thought it was super liberal what they were doing.
Right.
And so when they talk about Southern strategy and Nixon courting the religious vote, courting the Southern vote, and Reagan courting the religious vote, that's my parents, man. They went from Democrat, and then Nixon showed up, and they were like, we're Republicans then.
Right.
And so,
wow.
And so charismatic Catholicism was Pope John Paul, who was like the most beloved Pope because he was so like open to like, I don't know, like turning things back, turning the clock back in the face of Vatican II. So essentially, Catholic Church started hemorrhaging members, like big time, after Vatican II, and the Pope was like, all right, essentially,
where did those members go when they hemorrhage
to more fundamentalist denominations?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So my dad was looking for discipline. He was looking for ritual. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He fucking knew the Latin Mass. We always said grace in Latin.
Right. Yeah.
And so, but to give you an idea, my dad served in World War II. He's an older guy. He's not with us anymore.
Right.
But so that was his generation. And so, he was big time in it. He was almost a priest. He was in the seminary when like he left shortly before he met my mom. And so he was hardcore, like, he was everything you could be besides a priest or a deacon. And he was like big in the church. They knew him there. He was a lector. And so he would go to prayer meetings every week. You ever heard of a prayer meeting?
Yeah. We had those.
Every Tuesday.
I grew up Church of Christ. That was like a no instrumental worship kind of thing.
No icons?
They were cool with people taking pictures of each other and stuff like that, but like in services there was like no, like people didn't wear crosses around their necks or like anything like that. Like they
that's big. Catholics are big. That was the reason why they're so controversial, is because all the iconography. Yeah, it's like a giant cult. The size just gives them credibility. But the Catholics were like members of 1,000 people. People were like, those people are fucking nuts. Yeah, doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So Vatican II came, people started hemorrhaging, people started going to other religions, people wanted that kind of old school religion. Right. And so what John Paul did was like...
Context, Vatican II is like what, late 70s?
60s.
60s. Okay.
So middle 60s, I think, like 64 or 5.
If the Catholics are hemorrhaging through the late 60s and through the 70s,
it dovetails with the New Age movement.
With the crazy like Amy Grant and like all that, like eventually what became like DC Talk and Jars of Clay.
Yes.
Like,
So Victory Fellowship. You ever heard of Victory Fellowship?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's what charismatic Catholics are. It's like Catholics who essentially rub elbows with other new religions. Yeah. But can still go back to Sunday Mass and receive communion.
Oh.
So he's like, you can be a swinger.
Yeah.
So
it's
like my parents,
swapping, but the wife is the Jesus.
Yeah, or the wife is how you view the physical body of Jesus,
Right.
I guess. It's really wild. But growing up, it was totally normal for me because, like, I would go to school, which was a Catholic school, and then I would go home. My mom was watching Pat Robertson, 700 Club,
Right.
and it was like, is it just all good? Like, what are the rules? Like, the rules were generally do what your parents say, but like they had all of these religions to basically pull from
Right.
and use as a weapon. It's
Right.
all
Right.
a control thing. And um, so that was really confusing to me, because when I would hear national politics, like East Coast Catholics,
Yeah.
talk about being pro-choice, I remember like hearing them be like, "That guy's full of shit."
Yeah. That guy's
Like
not
hearing
Catholic.
exactly, it's like, oh, what? The Catholics care about the poor. We don't care about the poor. That's
Yeah.
just the thing we say.
Yeah.
It's just like going to hell. I don't really believe in hell. I just
Right.
want to tell someone they're going to go to hell if they do something I don't want them to do.
Right.
It's all a game, right?
Yeah.
Like, I thought that everyone was in on it and everyone knew it was a game, but like it was to be taken seriously because it was our game and
Right.
it's how we operated.
Yep.
And it was like, I mean, I almost knew that I was in a bubble, but still I was like, I want my bubble to be the bubble. Like, I want my bubble to be the main bubble. Everyone wants their bubble to be the main bubble.
Right.
And so leaving the bubble was essential after a while and going to another very, I moved to New Orleans and met all these students. I didn't go to school, but like I was near the students, like all the college students, and I went to the same bars as them. I ended up like, basically all my friends were in the academic world and they were very liberal, and little by little I kind of dropped. I remember dating this barista. She was, from the Midwest, and she had moved to New Orleans like maybe a couple years before, and she was kind of like street punk.
Yeah.
And she had hairy arms and she wore like tidy whities and she was just weird.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like 21, 22, and we woke up. It was like the night after a date or whatever. It was like a Saturday night. We went out, and then Sunday she woke up. She's like, "Hey, I gotta go to mass," and I was like, "Mass?" I'd already stopped going to mass, but I was like, "Mass?" She's like, "Yeah." She's like, "I go." She's like, "It's right around the corner. It's a little pagan church," and I was like, "What do you do?" And she's like, "Oh, we may sit in silence, we meditate, we might talk about our week or like things we're thankful for." And it's just really nice, banal thing. I just in my head, I was like clowning on her because like, I was like, "No, that's not mass." I think of my stupid, ignorant, like, "You're an idiot." And so I was like, "Okay, have fun at mass." She's like, "That's not very nice." And I was like, "What?" I was like, I said something like, "I'm not the one who's," because she said pagan, and I immediately thought Satanist. I was like, "I'm not the one who worships Satan." She's like, "That was a really stupid thing to say." She's like, "I'm leaving." And we didn't break up because of that, but she was like, what she told me, she was like, "You have a lot of residual Christianity kicking around."
Yeah.
She's like, "You need to do something about that." And it gave me something to think about. I was like, wow, no one's ever really put it to me like that.
Right.
Because if you would have asked me how I felt about the church, I'd have been like, I think they're a bunch of idiots. But like, I still looked at the world through the lens that it provided me. Like, even though I had left it, I still had that kind of perception.
I still am kind of like that, like in my brain. Like one of the ways that like my inner vocabulary exists is still like is still almost prayer-like. It's still tied to that kind of shit.
Yeah. I mean, it's still in me too, man.
Yeah.
It's like, it's still in me too. I'm the last of 11, and so like I had a lot of
11 fucking kids.
Yeah, we're that Catholic. We're that kind of Catholic.
God damn it! Let me pause 2 seconds so I can get some water.
Okay.
Oh, did it pause? Welcome back to the Great Satan. I'm joined by Seth Cockfield of very close to New Orleans, Louisiana. This is Jason Fifi. We are the Great Satan, dealing with issues of American hegemony, both big and small. Speaking of, 11 kids, Catholic.
Yes.
I was thinking when I was taking a piss and getting water, ritual, being, religious, all this, like thinking about like Sam Kinison, right? Yeah. And thinking about like, and comedy, right? Like, and just thinking about like, as a 2.5-year-old, 3-year-old kid, my dad had these like JBL speakers that were about here on me, as a toddler. And I would like stand with my hands on it and like pretend to like lead singing and like, And so comedy, just as like a 13, 14-year-old kid, like learning to write jokes, like putting suits on at the thrift store and like going out and doing it. Like, Catholic especially, like, how are you then drawn to this kind of theater or like that individualistic?
I mean, Kinison and Hicks were, their stories kind of resonate with me, although I've never been a huge fan of Bill Hicks. And like listening to Sam Kinison now is like a little jarring.
Yeah.
He's like, they say it was a different time then, but that guy, even for his time, was like, whoa, okay, man, all right. And he died like he lived, really. But Kinison being a former preacher and then a comedian, to me was like, just, I was not a rebellious kid. I took religion in stride, and I was just like, okay, this is the way to live. And it's like, if I'm going to follow these rules, that means I'm going to judge people who don't follow the rules.
Got it.
And so I have this like very kind of, I wanted to do everything perfectly. It's just the way my dad taught me. It was weird. And so so like his story to me when I was a kid, the way I saw it was like, that's a shame.
Yeah.
That's a shame that he was a preacher. Yeah. And he was like, I mean, to me, like it wasn't like the height of what I was like, preachers are, I mean, like if you're a preacher, you're there, right? You're
like a good guy,
You're like talking to God every day, and you know pretty much everything. But now he's a comic, and he's like angry, and it made me feel uncomfortable that he was angry. The idea that he was angry at the church.
Yeah.
But I really liked his. It was one of those things where it's like he offended my sensibilities, but I laughed at most of what he said.
Right.
And he taught me that was possible, because I knew even then, because I remember there's a story in my album I tell about my mom, how she asked me if I wanted to go see a Christian comedian in concert with her.
Wow.
And I said no.
Fuck that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they took me to see some weird entertainment, like, remember the Power Team?
Yeah, I saw Power Team one time.
Yeah, same. I saw them at Uno Lakefront Arena, and that was like my first live event.
Wow.
The fucking Power Team. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, like breaking phone books for Jesus and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like that's the point of entertainment is to at the end of the day you bring it back to Jesus. Everything's about Jesus.
Right.
But Carlin was the one who kind of like drew me out of it completely. As far as like philosophy and comedy, he wasn't angry at the church. He made him seem corrupt and foolish at the same time.
Yeah.
And
which was
his joke about Dan Quayle was the first like full he went there kind of joke about Dan Quayle, that it was so the opposite of everything else I'd heard.
Right.
That, like, my dad watched conservative media. He listened to Limbaugh.
Yeah.
liberal sensibility in comedy didn't really reach me,
Right.
you know. And then Carlin
Oh, I had like
was
all of Limbaugh's books, like every
yeah.
single one of them. But I really lucked it. So like my parents were both like super crazy conservative. And then I really lucked out because my dad's dad was like, he was like a comedy nerd, but also like a, you know, like just a sensible person. And he told me when I was like 11, he told me that Limbaugh was like fake.
Wow.
He was like, it's a satire. He's like making fun of what he's saying. Like,
Yeah.
so
I used
like,
to hear that too. He's an entertainer.
He had the idea of like Stephen Colbert's first show before, well, not first show, but you know, the Colbert Nation thing, like way before Colbert did.
Yeah, it's
That
weird
idea of,
though.
like,
I mean,
tell a child like, oh yeah, this guy's making jokes. This is none of it's real. All the jokes even are fake jokes.
right.
Like,
Yeah, I mean, I was a big fan of Limbaugh. I had a Ditto Head T-shirt. I watched his TV show. Every episode that I was on, it was like I was pretty into him, and I didn't know that he was niche at the time.
mm-hmm.
I just thought he just seemed like,
oh yeah, everybody.
I was like, oh, if you are like smart and like comedy,
yeah,
you know, give Limbaugh a listen.
yeah.
And so, because I found him funny. He used to have a great delivery, man.
Guys,
he used to have
Victor Borga and Rush Limbaugh. Those are my guys.
Yeah. My mom had Victor Borga VHS, man.
Yeah, same here.
Victor Borga, Louis Anderson, and she liked Stephen Wright too. Believe it or not, my parents loved Stephen Wright. Yeah. So Limbaugh was. It's weird, like when in 2008, when I really started paying attention to politics, and like, you know, I had to go through my Ron Paul phase, but then when I got out of it, I was like, okay, I'm definitely Team Obama. I liked him because he was young. That was my big. He was young and smart.
Right.
Did not want an old stupid person anymore. No more old stupid people. No more Dick Cheney. No more Donald Rumsfeld. No more. W was too old for me.
Right.
I wanted someone young and smart. To me, I was just like, that's the dream. You just put someone young and smart in charge, and all this anti-gay, fucking old school, like sexist bullshit falls by. Like, I really thought that, like, you know, it was like a cliche, like, oh, the old generation's gonna die out, and then we'll be left with enlightenment and you know,
everything will be cool now. Yeah,
and it's just we regressed. It's like, on a personal level, I didn't think Obama went hard left enough, and I don't know if people are ready to say that. You were
actually fooled into supporting him as hard as, like, a lot of the people on the left supported Obama as hard as we did because of what conservatives said about him. You know, the Jeremiah Wright, goddamn America stuff.
Yes.
Like, I was like, holy shit, we get to support this anti-imperialist guy for president?
Yeah. Yeah, and he's like, he read Saul Alinsky's book? Great. Yeah.
This guy's gonna be fucking rad. And then he's just milquetoast as all get out. Like, he's just
he was a nerd. And okay, so when you're a political nerd in America, you are going to, there just aren't enough prominent, safe people of color in politics.
Right.
For him to bond over, like, political philosophy with.
Big time.
And so when he went out there and gave speeches on how much he loved Ronald Reagan, it was like, in a different world, it could have been like, oh yeah, I could see how you could admire Reagan's, like, political acumen and, like, his ability to connect with people, but gosh, I hope you don't like his politics. Right. But it's like, I think that for anyone to say they admire Ronald Reagan in America in the 21st century says very specific things, but in Barack Obama's, like, political mind, he's like these guys get it. Like,
Yeah,
I'm just talking about, as a political nerd, Reagan could do this and this. I'm a president.
Right.
I'm speaking to a certain electorate, a certain fraction of the electorate who's part of my coalition, by the way. Some
Right.
of these people like Reagan.
Yep.
And we like Reagan on this very, like, political sciencey level. But
Right.
people who like Reagan don't like him on a political sciencey level.
They actually hate him on a lot of policy stuff too, right?
Yes, they don't want to talk about it.
Biden is to the right of Reagan on immigration.
It's tricky, but yes, he is.
Like,
but
I mean, far to, like, Bernie is barely to Reagan's left on immigration, like barely, and he was the farthest left we've had in 15 years now.
He is. And here's what else. I mean, Biden is a big problem train.
Right.
He's missing cars, and
right.
there's
the good news is we know it's going to lose, so we can just go like, we can do this.
No,
if he wins, it's worse, honestly. Like, because
not worse if he wins. It's not worse if he wins.
Here's why it's worse if he wins. Because, like,
tell me why it's worse if he wins.
Okay. We both bought in on Obama. I phone banked hard for him in 8. I did the same thing in 16, in 12. Not in in 16. I was like, I knew Hillary was going to lose anyway, and I was the regional coordinator for the Green Party. Yada yada yada. Right. Okay. If Biden wins, it's worse than if Trump wins, because if Biden wins, 4 years from now, we don't have a chance to get rid of whatever fascism soft we have. The bad guys have another chance to go even further right than Trump.
Yes.
And they will not lose that opportunity. They won't waste that opportunity. They will take that opportunity and give us something
I'm sorry.
way worse.
I got a phone call during this thing. It's weird. I didn't know that could happen. Okay.
I didn't either.
Sorry. No, it's okay. I don't want to take it. I'm trying to hang up.
Do you want me to pause?
No.
Just in case? Okay.
We're good.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, now, okay. Worse, better, those are binary terms, and they're whatever. Like, because it's always, there's like 9 different plates that we're spinning, right? Immigration's one issue. LGBT stuff's another issue. Right? But if we get Biden in office, we're not hanging every ICE agent, right?
No.
It's not
progress. No. Do you play chess? Is that a pretentious thing to say?
Yeah, no, I played chess as a kid.
So, and it's not I don't look at life as a chess game, but this moment, if you look at the environment we're in, we've been beaten pretty badly, and we've lost a lot of material, but we have pieces left that are in good places, and we just need this one thing to happen. And there will be an immediate domino effect of positivity that will mitigate a lot of the bad things. If you're looking at philosophy as like good or bad, if Trump wins, things will get worse very quickly.
Okay.
They'll be normalized, but they'll get worse very quickly. And I'm talking about on a direct effect on people's mental health. So, like,
okay. You mean like for this specific 4-year period itself? Yeah.
So, okay, here's what I'm saying. Trump gets reelected.
Okay.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg most assuredly passes in his second term. Yeah. That right there. We're looking at material loss right there. We're looking at a generation of legal losses, of rights. We're just yielding that. Goodbye. There goes another Supreme Court. And then Trump could pack the court if he wanted. But we won't go there. He could do a lot of things.
Right.
He's going to deport more people. Things are going to get worse on the border. So the livelihoods of people's lives on the border will get worse. If Biden gets elected, I don't think they will get worse. I think maybe they might deteriorate more than if Bernie or somebody who directly cared about that issue on an ideological level got in office.
Right.
Biden is a blank, empty vessel. He is a piece of white bread that, unfortunately, all Democrats are looking at and licking their chops. That includes corporate Democrats, and they're very influential. But if we take the Senate, which is becoming more and more a possibility, if we take the Senate, that means we also take the House. And so we have this fucking insane checkmate where we have the House, the Senate, and the White House. We get to celebrate if that happens. We get to celebrate if that happens.
We is like a big thing. And if they're not,
we get to celebrate a small victory. Maybe
they don't let us be part of that we, right?
Right. Okay.
So if you get a Biden in the White House, that's not we in the White House. That's the corporate Dems in the White House. So then you get Rahm Emanuel types running who decides who's in Senate and who's in the House, and then they lose both the House and the Senate too anyway.
I really
those are a really losing bunch of Democrats. Like, they love losing. The Rahm Emanuel far right Dems hate winning.
Yes.
They don't like winning.
Yes. No, the problem is Rahm ran Obama's campaign and Obama won. Well, he was the chief of staff, but he was on the campaign, and he advised him.
A lot of the messaging he hated a lot.
Of course. But on a soldier level, he gets things done. And Obama surrounded himself with a lot of corporate people because that was, I think if it had been 20 years from now, you become kind of like the crowd you surround yourself with, and Obama was a young guy who became president, and then he was like, these are the guys that I need for me to survive. If he would have been like, here's my crew, take it or leave it, they're fire-breathing progressives, and I'm taking this country left and everyone's coming with me, fuck you if you don't like it. There's no planet. There's no way that could happen.
Well, I think now we also know that was never really by Obama's heart anyway.
No.
He was always.
Well, it wasn't his heart. It was his head. That was where his head was.
That's what I mean.
I think his heart really is in a good place. I just think you become. It's like,
I don't think he's a progressive at all. I think he thinks of American history in this long, slow, legalistic sense because he believes in the rule of law.
He's a constitutional lawyer. Look at comedians look at the world in a certain way, and they hold jokes to be very sacred. And Obama looks at the law as a very sacred thing. He's also Christian. That's not a lie. Conservatives think he's not Christian. He is. He's a legit Christian. So that's Obama. But think about a young comedian who, at a very impressionable time in his life, he, might win a contest, or he might get a career break where suddenly he's opening up for a comedian who becomes very influential on him. And that comedian is very pro fucking TV ready, kind of just cookie cutter comedy. And then that once dynamic kind of experimental comedian I don't even have a real life example of this, but this could totally happen. I'm sure it has.
I thought you were specifically talking shit on me. I did. Yeah, I started really fucking young. Yeah, I was about to say. Yeah, I started really fucking young. I got really into I thought.
But here's what I'm saying is it's very possible for somebody.
Yeah, sorry.
It's very possible for somebody. No, it's very possible for somebody with a really progressive heart to just drift to a place that, it's like getting a certain job, and then you go to that office every day. You start to kind of become part of that culture. And then when you're outside of it, people perceive you as that kind of type. And so Obama, constitutional lawyer, becomes president right after W. There's certain shackles he has on him that he has to play to certain, and then he ends up becoming that crowd. I think it's tragic, but my heart, I like Barack Obama. And I think that we'd have a lot to talk about. If you go back and listen to the Mark Maron conversation, that was at Barack Obama's peak cool factor.
Yeah,
dude, that was an event. I sat down and it was I sat down and listened to it. I put
was that
time,
2014 14, 15,
Yeah.
16, somewhere in there. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
crazy. He was still president.
That's when he said the N-word a couple times. And people were like, oh, is he allowed to say that? It's like, oh, my fucking God.
Yeah, he wrote it in his book like 6 times. Yeah.
Right, exactly. But nobody reads books. But Biden wins. We might win the Senate. That might sound pie in the sky, but it could happen. People are talking. People are saying that it could happen.
People are saying a lot.
We're not going to lose the House.
Right.
If we get the Senate and the White House.
Yeah.
It will be better than if Trump wins. But here's the thing is that it's going to take massive activism.
Right.
I mean, like, we got to treat Biden like we talk about him. Like, if he's that near to Trump.
We should have treated Obama.
Sure.
Yeah.
But like
bend his back and pushed and said, let's go, you know.
Biden needs to act like a vessel for change. He talks about, I mean, if you listen to him talk, you know, he talks about wanting to be a bridge. He's trying to find his role in his political legacy. He's thinking about himself. So in his life, he's like, okay, it sounds like I'm going to be the bridge between the old guard, the Democrats, and the new progressives. And so he wants to be, I think he's a little jealous of Bernie. Same age group, and Bernie's way more cool with the young kids, and Biden's like, wait a minute, where's my cool people?
Yeah.
I think Biden really wants to win their hearts a little bit, but he's got that old school political muscle memory.
He doesn't even know how to win those kids. Like, he can't even talk to I say us, but I mean, it's not even me. I'm 37 years old. But you know what I mean? He can't talk to us. He can't talk to anybody left of Reagan.
Without scoffing or without, just because he's not used to, I mean, he's a fucking creature of the Senate. He's not used to working with a lot of Democrats. He's used to always having to break bread with Republicans because of how the Senate has been since he was in there. And so
I don't know how forced that is. I don't know how unnatural that relationship is for him, you know?
He's a Delaware senator. He's not supposed to be president. So we're having to we have to
craft a future out of this dude. I don't see that happening, honestly. I really don't. I mean, economically, unless things go really, 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 really fucky in the next 3-8 months, I don't know how many, whatever the fuck. Unless it gets really, really fucked up, I can't see a future where Trump loses to Biden.
Trump lost by 3 million votes, and people are turning on him. Actual base people are turning on him.
He doesn't. He didn't have
not in a seismic way, but it's happening.
The thing he lost, right?
He lost.
Full eyes, open heart, whatever. He lost. He's gonna lose again, but he's gonna win.
Electoral college, so
he's gonna beat Biden just the same way. I mean, Biden's. If you had to pick someone worse than Hillary, I think Biden.
Yeah, I mean, on a candidate level, yes, Biden is bad.
Yeah.
But here are the things that I mean, I want to finish the why Biden is better.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah,
immediate.
Let's.
Is Supreme Court. The Supreme Court can mitigate RGB's loss, replace her with someone young and progressive. I mean, if it's
Clarence
the Democratic Senate, like Clarence Thomas.
Right, someone cool.
Or another Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas's wife. No, no, he's not going to. He's not okay.
Yeah, Clarence Thomas. Anybody actually?
Clarence Thomas is an activist. Biden doesn't care about activist Republicans. He looks at Republicans in the abstract. He looks at them as an opponent he has to break bread with. They just happen to be Republicans. He doesn't look at Clarence Thomas as the ideal kind of Republican. He sees flaws in the far right wing. It's just that he doesn't see flaws in agreeing with them as much as we do. Gotcha. So as far as DOJ picks, as far as SCOTUS picks, Biden is going to listen to his advisors. He's going to be too old to argue with his advisors. He doesn't have an ideology of his own. He's
Right.
not a really argumentative guy, and he wants to stay in power in a more sycophantic way than Trump wants it, because Biden wanted the presidency, Trump wanted the attention. Biden
Right.
wants the presidency because of the whole Obama legacy way of thinking kind of thing.
Right.
Trump wanted the presidency because it's a power grab, because it turns him into King Kong.
Fun or
So it's
whatever.
like two different ways of looking at it, but Biden will want approval ratings. Biden will want Democrats to like him as much as Republicans will, because it means he
all
will
this stuff
win.
is stuff that people say, Trump people say about Trump, as if they're good things.
I don't look at Biden's personal sycophancy as a good thing. I look at it as opportunistic, because
That's what I'm saying. They don't see it as like necessarily a good character thing, but they're saying that it's good for Republicans to have this guy that's just malleable.
can you imagine if we had someone as malleable as him? It would suck to have to defend him, but just on a pure political level.
That's
The
what
thing-
I think.
The thing is, it would
okay.
be weird. It would be weird to couple that kind of. So, like, we might get really progressive legislation without the president giving it his full sales pitch. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
Biden might give this isn't really what I want, but I'll sign it, but
Right.
I'm just saying this is a reach. And it's like, well, we got it, right? We won. We
Yeah.
won. We don't need you to fucking be our cheerleader. So
Right.
like, if we get victories and we step on his neck and make him let the changes happen without maybe having to be like, this is what I want. That's a way that we could really just fix very
Why?
necessary shit to fix.
Okay.
Why need to get done?
Why don't we do that to Trump now?
Because he has an army around him. He has put, in every institution, he has put a lackey who's not going to argue with him, and they're not going to complain about the things that the people who care about those institutions are going to complain about.
So he's surrounded by like yes men idiots, but what if, just one person shows up and goes like, not, hey, you're an asshole, hey, there's a fucking Cheeto in the goddamn White House, right? And not complains about him or acts like he's bad, but just says, hey, you're a malleable guy. You want this thing that 90% of Americans support. Let's do Medicare for all and open the borders and free guns for every man, woman, trans woman, homeless people, dogs. Everybody gets free guns. You know what I mean?
We watched that happen in real time, Jason.
Progressive shit.
Yeah. Remember when Trump said on camera that he's not afraid of the NRA? Yeah. And that he's going to pass gun control? Yeah. That was a very natural moment. That was a kind of thing. But the thing is,
somebody around him just said, hey, the people want this thing right now. They're scared of guns. A shooting just happened. Talk to the people.
Well, yeah. So on TV, the winds were blowing that way, and he was like, yeah, we're going to do these. Like, I'm not afraid of the NRA. He's like, the next night he had dinner with Wayne LaPierre, and then he never heard about gun control again.
Yep.
So
well done steak, a little bit of ketchup, boom.
So what we get with Biden that we don't get with Trump is that Biden isn't going to be having dinner with the NRA. He's not going to be doing it. Huh?
So why not? Let the NRA buy him dinner. Come on. Let the man have a steak.
Because Trump needed
Why do you hate Biden so much? Okay.
Trump needed to have dinner with Wayne LaPierre because Trump wants to be in charge, and he wants to be able to do and say things without losing power. And if he loses the NRA voters, that's it.
Got it.
That's it. So it's a survival thing. Whereas, like, I don't know if Biden needs progressives to survive, but I think he does. That's a bet I'm making.
Yeah, he does.
And so I think that I think Biden recognizes that he needs progressives more now than Obama needed progressives in 2008.
Big time.
So Biden is going into presidency in a very similar way that Obama was, where it's like, okay, I won like this, but I'm going to govern like this because I'm a realist.
Yeah.
And I care about history and legacy of the Senate and institutions and yada, yada, yada. So Biden's going to go in and being like, okay, I'm this guy, but I'm going to govern like this. But, you know, maybe he thinks that if he breaks a little left, that, you know, these white Midwesterners will go along with him because he just seems like a likable guy who they could, you know, could hang with Biden. He's a little slurry or whatever, but like, you know, he's not going to like cancel culture on you, you know?
Right.
And so there's a little bit of relatability there, just like old school. He's an old white guy. I'm a white guy. He's from working class. You know, there's like a biological kind of relatability there built in that Hillary didn't have, that Bernie didn't have.
Right.
And so I think he's got that on his side, because if you look at the data, man, swing voters don't really exist, and that people who decide on the day of the election are deciding based on their mood, their gut, how they look at a person on a likability factor. Like, how do I feel about this person today?
Yeah.
That's why the Comey announcement affected the election so much. It wasn't that people were like, maybe she's corrupt. It's that Comey reminded them, like, oh yeah,
I hate her.
I hate her because she's surrounded by this cloud of corruption, and I'm tired of it. And it just reminded them, and it's like, you know what? And it was like a fuck it moment. It wasn't like people were looking at the pros and cons. They forgot about all of Trump's cons, and this one big con was in their face. And they were like, okay, just not Hillary. Trump, sure. And all of Trump's cons were like wiped away because that was the most recent thing, and it was just a big negative. And so if Biden can survive until November without some just ugly fucking giant sore appearing right before, something that's going to make people turn away from him in an abhorrent way.
Right.
I get it that his proclivities don't do that already.
Right.
So it's going to have to be something else.
8 sexual assault allegations.
Or like straight up DNA evidence for a rape.
Right.
Something like that.
Stuff like that. Not great. But
or something about Hunter Biden. Maybe Hunter Biden gets put into rehab.
Man,
something stupid like that would work.
Hunter needs to be front and center and just talking like mad shit. He just needs to be that.
He might be bad for TV.
I think it would be great for TV. I think Hunter.
No, I mean, I think people who may have seen him talk already, and they might know something we don't. Otherwise, he would be on TV if he would help.
Oh, Biden.
No, Hunter. I think if Hunter was a good asset, they would have used him already.
Got it. Yeah, that's not wrong. Well, I think they don't know what a good asset is because they you know what I mean? I don't think they're smart.
Always a good point, yeah.
Like
when you look at some of the things they think are a good idea, you're like, what the fuck?
That head and heart thing where they're like, they have this idea of the middle of the country. They have this idea of like Alabama and rural Louisiana and Mississippi, that these people make decisions based on their material interests, and then they're like, well, this guy does coke and fuck strippers. They're not going to think he's cool. The fuck are you talking about?
Right.
They voted for Trump.
Right.
Like, the only way if we can't have a left candidate, at least give us a Democrat Trump. Like, at least give us a kid that's a dumbass that fucks strippers and does coke and marries his like dead brother's wife and shit. Like, weird shit.
Like a young Matthew McConaughey.
All right, that's what I'm talking about. Yes. That's what we need.
Sure.
We need this dude to just and on the TV he would.
But you can't. Okay. The difference between, we care too much about building a future. What conservatives want to do is what do you call it? Stunt the future.
Yeah.
So you operate in different ways if you want a different end game.
Yeah.
So throw in the Trump grenade and destroying institutions.
Right.
That's progress.
Yeah.
For us to throw a grenade and put institutions in jeopardy, because, like, again, a young political neophyte who just goes with his gut and doesn't know anything about political institutions is a vulnerability if they're in charge, or liability to institutions, because they can pick people in charge based on their gut who don't know what they're doing as well, and delegate authority to stupid, malevolent people. That's what I was worried about Bernie, man, because some of Bernie's cabinet picks, based on his campaign people, I was just like, man, he chose some really kind of just really not unlikable, but unfriendly kind of like especially fire-breathing people for his campaign. He was like super left.
Right.
And that meant, a certain like purity about the language that they spoke, and a certain purity about like just, it was a very black and white world that they painted. And I agree with most of what they said, but maybe I have a little bit of like Obamaism in me, where I was like, I don't agree with going in expecting to cooperate with Republicans, but pretending that, just the whole scorched earth, pretending that you don't have to be nice to anybody that isn't within your political camp, I thought was, and it was a liability for him. I mean, people hammered Bernie about his campaigns. It wasn't some hoax, or it wasn't a fabrication of the media. It was I'm a guy who fucking phone banked for Bernie, man, and I'm as left as they come. And Brianna Joy Gray and a lot of his surrogates and fucking David Sirota, I don't like those people. I don't think I would get along with those people. I didn't get along with my fellow Bernie phone bankers.
I think they're way fucking nicer than I would be in that situation.
Sirota is a rat fucker. He's a Roger Stone of the left.
Sirota, but like Bree is fucking as sweet as pie with as much bullshit as she had to put up with. You know what I mean? Like,
but I mean, like,
a black woman where the party I represent really only cares about, old black men in South Carolina for 2 weeks of the year.
Yeah.
And it's all just white dudes trying to tell you, well, actually, right?
Yes.
Her experiences, I wouldn't be as nice in her situation. You know what I mean? I would be way fucking meaner. So I gotta give. I mean, I just.
No, yeah, no. She has convictions. I'm not saying I don't respect her. Okay. I'm just saying that Bernie was kind of telegraphing.
Yeah.
To the world that he was going to appoint ideologues to cabinet positions, which I think is,
I mean,
not
at this moment.
You are, and
it's this exact moment in history, right? We're about 10 years away from 100 years of zero left representation in government, right? Since the end of the progressive era in 1930, we have not had any left representation in the executive branch whatsoever.
Left, no, not liberal.
Center,
yes.
Nothing even center, right? Nothing even to the not murdering socialists, right? Like,
right.
Literally nothing center since 1930, right?
Right.
So unless Bernie has a time machine and he could go back 50 years and appoint nice guy, centrist type of leftists that are nice and pretty, then I would say
I think we're arguing two different things.
Right. Well, what I'm saying is he made promises in 2016, and this time he wanted to make sure that people knew that he could do it, and not say, I'm going to make these fucking promises and just give it lip service, but say, here's how we're going to do it. And it's not just me, it's these 28 to 42-year-old young urban professional ideologues, right?
Yeah.
They're maybe from a like privileged kind of, economic background and whatever. They went to grad school, they're extremely talented, all this other shit. So they have the skills to do it.
These are all good things, yeah.
Yeah, it's all great things. They have the skills to do it. So that's the centrism that he was representing, was this academic privilege skill, but also open fucking eyes. Hey, Cheney didn't make inroads with the left, right?
Right.
W didn't ask permission to like make the largest surveillance system in the world, right?
No.
They just fucking did it, right? So he just needed the people in place to fucking do it.
Right.
make actual change happen.
Yeah. That's
Anything short of that, and I would have said he was being a coward, and I would have sent snake emojis at him.
Yeah. I guess I'm just patient
Yeah.
with politicians as human beings. And even with Trump, man, I try to find good things about him sometimes, and it just doesn't. I come up with nothing. There's nothing.
Good things
there.
I find about him are that he pisses off a lot of people that I don't like. Right?
That's how he won.
Yeah, exactly.
Negative partisanship.
If all I cared, if I was not as political like active as I am, and I didn't kind of think in those long-term ways or whatever, not fuck that. I even forget why even preface it. Like, why even say that? I love that he pissed off Hillary Clinton. Like, I love that. Fuck her. She had slaves. She's a bad person, right? I'm sick of pretending that we're supposed to like her. She's bad. And it's funny that he made her angry, and I'm glad he won. No, I'm joking. I'm joking about that last part.
That sounded real.
Yeah, it did sound real. I'm not glad he won. That's like the accelerationist argument, is that like she would have been worse than Trump, you know?
Yeah. I just can't imagine someone on the right.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine someone on the right if the roles were flipped. You know, and there was a president who was just raking the country left hard.
Yeah.
And in a chaotic way that pissed everyone off. I just can't imagine anyone from the conservative background looking at it and being like, it's cool. As long as the guy in charge is like pissing people off that I don't like. I just think that's a real, like, if you let that take over your
beach party
impulses, man, that's
Montgomery, Alabama, beach parties down on the Gulf. I'm talking every kind of Republican I ever had to hang out with in the last 5 since Trump won. They almost all say, dude, if it had been a W or some moderate type of Republican, a McCain, right, versus Bernie, they would have voted for Bernie because they liked how funny he was. They said they liked that he pissed the people off that they didn't like.
Yeah, that's the thing, though, man, is like we can't be held hostage to nihilists.
I don't think that's nihilistic. I think if there's no material difference, when the executive branch has no material difference on your day-to-day, right? No one's giving you $600 a week for unemployment or a $1,200 check with their name on it one time, right? There's no weighing those two options. It's just a war on terror and a war on drugs, or a war on terror and a war on drugs, right?
Yeah.
And one's funnier than the other one, and one makes fun of John McCain and the other one doesn't. I'm going with the guy that makes fun of John McCain if I'm 85% of people that don't know any better, right? Because fuck John McCain. It's funny.
Yeah, but before all of that, fuck Donald Trump.
What if you
I don't want him involved in the national conversation. I don't want a fucking sideshow circus freak fucking running the show. I don't want him commenting. I don't want to hear his voice. It has no value. The man comes from a bad place.
About a black Hillary Clinton.
What?
Right? I said the Time didn't have a song about a black Hillary Clinton, right?
No.
Like, that guy's not just a sideshow freak. He's a cultural touchstone, right? He's deeply embedded. I mean, it would be like having Hulk Hogan as president. Like, it's not necessarily that weird to think about.
No, but it's bad. It's fundamentally bad. Okay, it's as bad.
For us, it's bad. We give a shit about politics or know stuff or whatever the fuck we are.
Trump's presidency has had a negative effect on people outside of
not saying that, right? I'm not saying that. I'm saying they may live the rest of their entire lives without actually understanding that.
You know what? Okay, here's the thing, man. What Trump wants is attention and power. And he didn't really expect to get this much power. And he had to learn how to wield it, he's been learning how to skate the law. They impeached him. He got away with it. Now it's just like, here I am. And now he is who he is. And you're seeing why he should not be president play out, because this whole time he has not thought about anybody but himself. and he's been learning how to wield power without being held accountable. So he's learned how to delegate accountability and then just push those little, scandals away, and he's been able to survive.
But that's the apparatus that's in place. It's the game that he's playing. He's allowed to play it. He's going to push. It's the old, like...
That's the thing. People can be allowed to do things. I mean, we're all allowed to have fun, but the consequences are bad, and you want to avoid them. Right. Just because they could happen and would happen if these things took place doesn't mean that they should, and it doesn't mean that we should accept it. It's like Trump shouldn't have won. I mean, Hillary would have been a bad president. We would have gotten a hater, but there'd have been so many people's lives that would not have been negatively affected. And a lot of our alliances would be healthier now. Maybe the Amazon wouldn't have burned as much. I mean, all these things that
wouldn't burn just as much and we wouldn't know about it.
I don't know. We don't know. Yeah, we don't know. But the good things, I do know the good things that would be different, and I would prefer them. I look at things, I mean, in a binary way, if it's the only way you can look at it, I would have preferred Hillary won. Donald Trump stresses a lot of people out.
Yeah.
Yes, he's rude. Yes, he's uncouth, and he's vulgar. I don't care about those things.
Right.
All my favorite comedians are all those things.
Right.
He's also other things. He's malevolent, stupid, calculated. He's very instinctual. He tracks people when he's talking to them, but he doesn't listen to them.
Right.
He's looking for body language.
Yeah.
He should be selling fucking powdered deodorant car to car somewhere.
Yeah.
Or he's a fabulist. He should be selling snake oil. Literally, he's that kind of guy. But now he's in charge, and his decisions, though in the abstract, it's like, oh yeah, this decision stuck it to this person. But yeah, that decision also fucked up an institution that did good for people that you never hear about, because this country doesn't care about doing good for people. It's all about, everything is a baseball match. The entire news is a sports page.
Already, we didn't have a welfare state of any kind.
Sure we did.
Not really.
It's got holes. It's got holes in it, but
what I mean is,
if there wasn't, I would be dead.
Right. That's true. I think, we all would, yeah. But there were already gigantic structural flaws in this system that need repairing very badly. And so the one good thing that we, when we talk to accelerationists and we ask them why the fuck they're so happy all the time, and how do I get that how do I fix my pessimism with accelerationism, right? What they say is that he's like that shit you put in your radiator to find leaks, like,
sure,
really happy about the leaks. Like, he loves how fucked up the system is, and goes, hey, look, I broke the chain that I'm tied to. And they all go, hey, you're not allowed to do that. And then he goes, I just fucking did. What are you going to do about it? Right? Yeah. And then he calls people the F slur to their face. Right?
Yeah.
And then what are you going to do about that? That's not illegal. Right? He gets away with it, right? Because it's not actually illegal. All these things that we say are illegal, they're not actually illegal when someone does it. Nothing.
No, there's rules and norms, and then there's laws. And you got to try and base a society on something. There's a book.
Why isn't he in jail? I don't get it. Like, that's what I'm saying, is that the system is so fundamentally broken.
Britain, we don't connect personal behavior with the law as much as they do.
Okay.
So, I mean, we're America, man. Don't tread on me. There's a lot of thanks, I guess, to the very conservative thinkers throughout American history, but they've put in blocks from the federal government being too powerful in ways. I mean, they have power that they don't like by providing a safety net that really pisses them off. Right. They try to make an economic argument about it that just falls apart if you just talk about it for a few minutes. But but yeah, and this country's a little different. Like, no, he can't. I mean, racism isn't illegal.
Right.
It's not. And I mean, lynching was barely illegal,
right,
until recently. And so there are things in this country that outside of the law, like the rules and the norms and the culture, we expect a president to act a certain way.
Right.
And what Trump is doing is not, he's flouting the law in a really abstract way, but you got to remember, man, okay, pretend we're in a car and we're like one tire down, we're like down to one wheel.
Right.
And we're making a road trip and we're getting by on one wheel somehow. And historically, every time you stop, a Republican takes your wheel. And they do, and you watch them do it, and other Republicans hold you back from stopping them. And then they let you go, and then you go on two wheels. And then you're down to one wheel. And then when you finally get to the wheel shop, and it's like still giving Republicans the benefit of the doubt when talking about how you need a new car. And so what I'm saying, okay, here's what I'm saying less garbly is the safety net sucks because of Republicans.
Yeah.
Period. And yes, and an accessory, corporate Democrats as well.
Yeah.
But the idea to beat Trump comes with a big truckload of Republican lawmakers, Republican lawyers, federal judges with lifetime appointments, and an entire culture of hatred, dismissal of rules and norms, and danger, like we're seeing now, people not social distancing.
Yeah.
And they see, there are people that see Trump not wear a mask, and deep down, hold on.
Yeah.
Deep down.
This shit's cool.
Stop. Please go away. I have to decline it like three or four times on multiple apps. So, okay. Oh yeah, I'm sharing my screen. So Trump is a distraction in many ways, but as someone who cares about progressive politics, you got to know your enemy and you got to treat him like an enemy. And Trump is an enemy. He's not someone we got to fall for their charm spell in any way. To me, he's a fucking monster. He's not funny anymore to me. He doesn't, even when I recognize like, oh, what he said just now, he was trying to be funny, and there's a lot of people around that are everywhere that are laughing, and like that was a funny moment. And past me probably would have been like, he's fucking, I mean, even Trevor Noah talks about it on Daily Show, how funny Trump is.
Yeah.
He's like, man, this dude's a fucking legend. He's so funny. It's crazy. But he's like, hey, it's hard to like hate him because he's so funny. I've learned to just hate him despite it. Jesus Christ.
Right.
What the fuck?
Yeah. I would say, like, the times he's trying to be funny are the least funny moments, right? Like, the things where it's funny, it's like, it's him being just a petty bitch, right?
Yes.
And he's like, he's just talking, he's just a roast comic. Like, he's just a dumb roast comic.
Yes.
It's like, my man in the front row, he got a funny hat, fuck you, right?
Yeah. Because
that stuff.
I'm sure funny. Those are the type of guys he'd share a green room with, you know, at NBC Studios or like any kind of show business. I mean, he was rubbing elbows with fucking Billy Bush.
Yeah.
These are like bit part dudes.
Yeah.
Like who hate Hollywood for the same reasons he does. A lot of that like negative partisanship where it's like common enemies. And it's like, I guess I never saw Hillary as an enemy enough because I knew what Trump represented. I knew the people he was bringing with him. And it just, I mean, Stephen Miller is enough for everyone who cares about anything in this country to vote against Trump.
Is, I saw Hillary as that structural damage that Trump was going to do, right? Like I knew after 12, like when we got Obama reelected against all odds economically, right? We should not have been able to win that, right? We were supposed to not win that, right?
Obama, people liked him. I
didn't say they didn't. We still were up against, that was an uphill battle. Like we had a lot of, we did a lot of.
That's what I'm saying. That was the secret sauce.
Yeah, people liked him. That was the big. We would not have done that because the economy and all that, right? We weren't where we were supposed to be.
Right.
No progressive agenda had been passed yet. We had nothing to actually promise people, but we won anyway, right?
Because Republicans took our wheels. I just want to remind you of that.
I didn't say they did.
Actively, not passively.
Well, the other thing is we put Republican wheels on, so that's the other, but we're not going to get into that.
That's what I'm saying. We were like, we let Republican mechanics put the wheels back on, or promise to put the wheels back on.
The Heritage Foundation
we just believe they're bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
We believe they're bullshit.
They wrote our manual. Yeah. So the thing I saw with Hillary wasn't just Hillary owned slaves and her husband got a blowjob and all this, right? Like, who gives a fuck about that stuff? I saw a losing recipe against Stephen Miller and Steve Bannon, right? So when I see Hillary Clinton, I don't just see her right-wing politics, right? I see what they enable, right? So when I look at
because she doesn't get it.
When I look at a far-right Democrat, when I look at a centrist, again, I hate that we're forced to call them centrists. When I look at borderline fascists in the Democratic Party, I don't say, I hate them because of this. I go, I hate them because of Steve Miller and Steve Bannon and Trump. You know what I mean? Because you can't have one without the other.
I know. You can't have Steve Miller without Trump, but.
Or Hillary Clinton.
The reason these people, Biden and Clinton, I'm not saying that they're not their own people, but Republicans ran shit in the 80s.
Yeah.
And if you were a political animal in the 80s, you had to govern at least kind of like a Republican if you wanted to survive.
Yeah.
So I don't forgive them for their politics, but I get that it's the time that they came from, and it's the baggage that they're bringing with them. But people up, they think about themselves first, I think. And I think Biden is the type of guy who sees the winds blowing a certain way and certainly doesn't want to be seen as some recalcitrant, old-fashioned fuddy-duddy who didn't let progress happen. I just don't see that happening. Trump, if you talk about Trump, every time, like if he couldn't pass Obamacare, it was seen as a loss, even though for the country it was a victory. Objectively, people got to keep their insurance. It was a victory, but they talked about it as a victory, as a loss for Trump, because they look at it as like a sport. And so does Biden in a way. And so Biden wants any victories, he's going to have to be on the governing team. Right. Trump wouldn't have gotten any victories if it wasn't for the tax cut, and he wouldn't have gotten the tax cut if it wasn't for the Republicans in power telling him, hey, this is the victory you're going for.
Right.
And so Biden's going to be looking for victories just like anybody else,
in power,
and he's only going to have some way to do it.
The Rahm Emanuels of the world and the corporate Dems losing elections.
I don't
put so many Republicans in office.
Yes. And I see things changing because I don't see the squad type going away. I think that sect is going to grow. Yeah. There's a lot more women involved and a lot more women running now. We see, non-binary folks winning, and we see, indigenous folks winning everywhere. And these people that have never have been representing government before, like winning elections. We win if we do the work. Republicans win if they stop us from doing the work. And that's what their work is all preventative. It's all these, it's a system of locks. And it's just like,
guard tower.
In Texas.
Yeah.
That salon owner, she went to jail for keeping a salon open. Guess what Greg Abbott did? Greg Abbott put a block on the law now. Now no one can go to jail if they break social distancing laws.
Right.
That's a very Republican law.
Yeah.
It's like, we don't want these people being punished. And if that means we punish nobody, then so be it. It's not progress. It's just how they govern. It's like, nope, this is ideological. This is sending a message. This is sending a very clear message. Break social distancing rules.
Right. We just decriminalized it.
Yeah, but in their own way, where they don't come out and say it. I mean, they can still arrest you.
Yeah.
Maybe you sit in a fucking
Oh no,
cop
the
car all
cops
day.
can still beat you up on the sidewalk for walking,
Absolutely.
holding your wife's hand or something. Yeah.
You just won't go to jail. Or
Yeah.
if you do, no one will know about it.
Right.
Or if you do, maybe it's not on paper.
Right.
You know, there's all these things they can do. And so.
Or it's for like resisting arrest or something like that, you know.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Resisting arrest. It's like, it's an impulse, man. I remember when I was arrested in New York, came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
This dude just grabbed me by my arm. I had just sold a little gram of weed to a friend of mine.
Oh, nice.
And in Union Square. I thought I was like, I had no idea that I was in the middle of a sting.
Yeah.
That had nothing to do with me.
God damn it.
And plainclothes cop.
Yeah.
Grabbed me by my arm. And I was like, get the fuck off me.
Yeah.
He could have arrested me for arrest right there.
Right.
Even though I didn't know who he was or why he was grabbing me.
No clue.
But, you know, it's like on paper, he grabbed me and I said, get the fuck off me. But all he said was, stop acting like an asshole. You're under arrest. That was it.
Wow.
I stopped acting like an asshole.
Right.
I
didn't know. What's that?
It sucked.
Yeah, it does suck. I've only ever been arrested a couple times, and one was a clerical error. I had failure to appears for tickets that I'd actually already taken care of, but the paper to computer thing fucked up, and they put me on for failure to appears and suspended my license, and then so they had like a bench warrant. So I get pulled over, and I'm thinking I'm getting out of it, you know. I want to say White Denim was playing at my house that night too. I was on a beer run in my 86 Toyota pickup truck and was driving back home, and luckily had not started drinking for the night yet, you know.
Yeah, but you spent the night in jail or what?
Oh yeah, and then the whole next day, because it was a weekend, so it was they said if you didn't do anything wrong, don't pay a bail. You'll talk to a judge and she'll make you a court date. You'll get out of here. You fix it up. You know, no reason to pay a bail if you didn't do anything. So I said, yeah, fuck it. I'll spend 3 hours in jail. They said, sure. You'll be out of here by 6:15 in the morning. You know, well, it was
they gave you a time.
Yeah, they estimated. They were just and they kept trying to be that was a little white kid, little white kid, you know. And in Montgomery, Alabama, you know, and they're
Dude.
So they keep trying to say hey, do you have any medications you're on where you need to be in a separate place? And then I was like, no, I don't do drugs or medication. What are you talking about? No, I just live clean and run and ride my bike and drink a lot of water, you know, I don't know. And then the guy's like, no, you sure you don't need to be in a separate place with access to a private bathroom or anything? And I was like, no, if there's a bathroom available, I can hold
We're trying to give you the rural treatment.
Yeah, they were trying to give me the white kid treatment, and I didn't know what I was, you know, I didn't pay attention. But anyway.
Yes, just say yes.
Yeah, it was sweet.
And he just the dude takes you home to his fucking apartment and you just party with him.
Here you go.
This is jail.
Doing bumps with a cop. Yeah. He's like,
how do you like jail supply?
Yeah. The judge ended up giving me this she wrote me this apology letter that unsuspended my license, and then when they reinstated it, I had no driving record for the state of Alabama. I'm talking 165 mile per hour speeding ticket.
Yeah.
Gone. No record of it.
Wow.
Criminal shit off my record completely. If I had known that was going to happen, I would have been doing way dumber shit.
Yeah. My dad being a lawyer kind of allowed me to do a lot of dumb shit.
That's first wild.
Time ever. Like I said, yeah, it's a way to not learn lessons. Yeah. My dad would just show up as my representation in traffic court, and the judge is like, nobody has a fucking lawyer in traffic court. All right, fine, get out of here. I don't want to hear this.
Yeah.
So everything got waived all the time. So it's very, I should have spent time.
Yeah.
And if they would have thrown the book at it, if they would have followed the letter of the law in New York, I would have gone to federal prison.
Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah. But they ignored a lot of stuff.
What's the distribution amount there before it's federal? But is it because it was over state lines, or what? Why would it have been federal?
No, because of the amount I had on me.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Clearly had intent to distribute.
Yeah.
And I had paraphernalia, and I had.
Yep. That'll do it.
And it all sounds really gruesome, but I was just hanging out in Union Square, getting stoned with a friend of mine,
and then
I had shit on me.
Here's a little bit. Yeah.
It was a really. It was stupid. Don't do that. I did the stupid thing you're not supposed to do.
Yeah.
I broke every rule and norm as well as the law, and really, really stupid thing. And I was very lucky. The fucking cop let me use his personal cell phone.
Wow.
To call my girlfriend to tell her I'd been arrested.
Holy shit.
Dude, when he did that, the other dudes in the wagon with me were like, no fucking way. They were like, let me use your phone. Let me use your phone. Because there was like,
losing
they're all used to this shit.
Yeah.
They were like, what about me? What about me? What about me? And he's like, the cop's like, fuck you guys or whatever. Jeez. And I'm like, oh, fuck, now I'm the fucking idiot. I begged him for a cell phone. I was like, dude, I was on Cabin that night, which was like a big deal show, big deal showcase. Yeah, man.
Is that like 11 or 13 or somewhere in there?
13.
Wow. I got okay memory on shit like that. Shows I never did, but I just remember them being around. Yeah.
Yeah. 13.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was nuts, man. And yeah, that was the first time. There was another time. But we don't want to talk about all my arrests.
Yeah. Yeah, no need for all that. Well,
I'm a reformed. I'm a law-abiding citizen now in Los Angeles. It's hard to break the law here.
Yeah.
Everybody goes to jail here.
What the fuck is against the law out there?
Not much. Being mean.
Yeah, that's rad, dude. Well, hey, always nice to talk to you. Love to have you again sometime. Maybe with one of the other guests that know more about political science than me. I'm more of like a, firebrand, just anti-capitalist guy.
I enjoyed the hell out of this.
Yeah, thanks.
I think you held your own. Don't beat yourself up, Jason.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that's not like a thing I'm good at. Like you're like, that's a thing you're good at, I think, is knowing.
Well, I changed my major, so we'll see. We'll see what the paper says. I don't know if we got to that part. I'm graduating with a screenwriting degree, so creative writing degree. So
hey, even better.
Absolutely.
Now that shit, I kind of oddly, I've never gone to school for writing or whatever. Like I took like expositional and then like a couple of lits, all the lit thing, like the English lit 1, 2, and then all the composition bullshit. But then like,
that's good. That's the basics.
That's enough. That's enough. I'm good.
Well, that's a good starting point. But I'm not here to tell you how to, if you want to be a writer, you'll figure it out.
Knock a pilot,
But yeah, go to cheesepeterson.com. It's my fake.
That'll be in the item description in the description of the show. There will be a link to Cheese Peterson, the blog.
I have a website too, but don't worry about that. It's a fake cheese blog. It's totally made up cheeses. It's funny. Made up. It's a thank you.
The Levi's one was great.
Oh, yeah. It's the cheese that wears jeans.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks again, Jason, for having me. This was great. And talk to you again soon.
Hey, great Satan. Later.
Great Satan.